Well, hello everyone. Thank you for joining us for this weekend edition of Hebrew Word Study. We are in 2 Samuel chapter 6. It's been a little while since we've left this the last time. Just had some different thoughts, and one week I was not able to make it. So we're jumping back in. And just to recap here, this is the episode where David was trying to bring the ark back into Jerusalem. Remember, the first time we went through this, they put on a cart. A guy named Uzzah touched the cart. He was smitten and killed. Then the ark went to the house of Obed-Edom, and that's where it resided while David tried to get his thoughts together on what to do next. And this ark abode in the house of Obed-Edom for 3 months. And of course, as we left off in verse 11, it says that um, Yahweh blessed Obed-Edom and all his household. After the last time I had this session, I did a little bit more research on the name of Obed-Edom, and I found out that he is also mentioned in First Chronicles chapter 15, verses 18 and 24. Thought to be a Levite from the family of Korach, and later was a doorkeeper in the temple or in the tabernacle for the ark. And another reference for that would be in First Chronicles chapter 26, verse 4. So just a little bit more on him, that he doesn't just fade off the scene here. He has a, a place in the rest of the tabernacle, and again, in something that it seems was uh, part of what he was maybe being ordained for and falling in line with, and that his heart was in the right place before God, that not only here to have the ark in his house, but to spend the rest of his life caring for a portion of all of what was done to care for the tabernacle that contained the ark. So that's where we pick up today. And here David gets some news 3 months later in verse 12 that says that Yahweh has blessed the house of Obed Edom and all that belongs to him, because the ark of God was there. And so, this motivated David. He knew that God's favor, I think this is part of it, that he knew God's favor was being poured out. And so he definitely had a heart to bring the ark back into Jerusalem. And here we see this beginning to take place. So David went and brought the ark um, from the house of Obed Edom to the city of David with gladness. So what you don't see here is how David regrouped from his previous failure. We're going to point out a few of those things here, because obviously he learned a few things. And so that's what's evident here when we get to verse 13. It says, Vayahi ki sa'adu, and so it was when those had gone, nos Noseh, bearing the ark. And here is the Aron Yahweh, so the ark of Yahweh. It says they walked Shisha Se'adim, 6 paces, and then they sacrificed. So this was kind of like, can you imagine what those guys felt who were the first ones who were carrying this ark? That they had seen how there was punishment, and a guy lost his life. Do you think they had a little trepidation here about being it's like getting on an airplane after a plane crashes, who wants to be the next one to get on a plane and drive it, or ride on it? So this is quite interesting. They must have had a lot of confidence. I wonder what went on behind the scenes with, the priests and those searching the Word of God to find out the correct way to do it, because we do see that He does do things the correct way. And as soon as they stepped 6 paces, it says that they sacrificed oxen and fatted sheep. So again, this was not commanded to do this sacrifice. This is obviously something that David just felt he wanted to celebrate. It doesn't say where the sacrifices took place, because they obviously weren't in the tabernacle. They were still, out in the countryside. How did how long did it take? You don't sacrifice oxen and fatted sheep. It doesn't say how many he did. We assume it's more than one because it's in the plural. And so, it's just kind of interesting here, that, we know something happened and it took some time and they celebrated. And then verse 14 is where we really want to spend our time focusing on, David, and this word here, Mekar care. David danced. You'll notice underneath here that it's a verb describing an action, and it's in the PL form, which is one of the most intensive forms, and it is a participle, which is the equivalent of an ing word in English, means this is a continuing thing. It's like he's dancing, even though it has danced. The actual proper understanding is that he is dancing. And so it just tells you the intensity at which David did this. And so this is kind of a fascinating thing because, what is dancing? What did he do? I have been to some churches where people um, become moved so strongly by the Spirit of God during a church service that they start to um, step out into the aisles. They jump, they maybe run around a little bit. I've seen them dance in some form. I've seen them twirl about, many things like that. What did David do? So let's open up this word here, and comes to the word of karkar, and it means to dance. Obviously, that's the normal interpretation. But going down a little bit further and digging into this, it has to do with whirling. And that's what I find is very, very interesting. So we're going to take a look at the Hebrew and Chaldean dictionary by Gesenius and look at this word here. It truly means to go in a circle. So this dancing is not um, 20th or 21st century type dancing that we in our Western culture understand. This is more of a whirling, spinning around in a circle. So when you want to reference how did David dance, he spun in a circle. And I think that's beautiful because I have seen little children under the Spirit of God whirling in circles in church services. I've seen some adults do that also, not always the most common, but to think of that David recorded here whirled in a circle. Now, this is only used twice here in this same episode here of Second Samuel chapter 6, verses 14 and 16, that David was whirling around in a circle. What's interesting, though, and give you some food for thought, is I looked this word up in Marcus Jastro's uh, dictionary or lexicon, excuse me, of the Talmud and Targumim, meaning coming from the Aramaic language, and it did not have any real reference here. You can see circling around that it had this word as an upholsterer, and I did not find any strong correlation. Of course, I don't know what upholstery was back then. They didn't have furniture the way we do today. Was this someone who just made pillows or made saddles or made things to rest on? And maybe their moving of their hands, they spin the needle and the thread around in circles to get the thread going through the material. Might have a reference there. You let me know if you come up with any better conclusion than that. But I was kind of shocked to see a word in the Aramaic that was spelled the same way with the same vowel pointing, but had nothing to do with what we have in our Bible. And so, what I wanted to do next is look at a Jewish um, Bible that I have that has commentary on it. It is and it shows here some interesting things. And it talks about verse 12 about David picking up the ark. Verse 13, they that bore the ark. Here he's saying what we spoke about earlier, that the ark was supposed to be borne on the shoulders of the people. Talked about the 6 paces, explaining again that they weren't supposed to, or that they didn't offer sacrifices every 6 paces, only when they had taken the first couple steps. And then Again, here is something that we just talked about in verse 14, that this word dance is a Hebrew verb found only in this passage and literally means to whirl. And so just a beautiful understanding. I can see David spinning and whirling, and as God's presence is moving, as he is excited about what is happening. It mentions here that he is wearing an ephod. We had talked about that in the past, that this was a garment that was worn when a person was entering into the tabernacle. It's a garment that represents preparing themselves to enter into a time when you're with the presence of God. Still a mysterious garment. We really don't know what it was. I've seen pictures of what they think that it looks like, but it's lost. We don't know what it was, but we see David wore it. We see some others in the Bible have worn it. Normally, it's something reserved for the priest, and so it's one of those mysterious things that why did some people get to wear it and it was okay? Others times it was only the priest that could wear it. So if you want to do a little study, that's your extra credit is to go ahead and look up ephod everywhere in the Bible and see if you can get an understanding and maybe a little bit better knowledge on what that truly is. And so we finish up with verse 15, that David and all the house of Israel brought the ark of Yahweh, shouting and with the sound of the trumpet. Now, English again doesn't do this very well, but the word is shofar for trumpet. And of course, many of you will recognize that name. That shofar is a horn that was blown throughout the Bible. You'll see many, many times it's used, always mostly translated as trumpet, but it's the shofar. And this shofar is key to Jewish worship. It is key throughout the scriptures. Another great place to look for just the Bible study. Of course, there's lots of verses here. You're going to be looking up close to 70 some verses about this shofar, but again, where was it used? Why was it used? What's its significance? It's how God's people would announce um, special things and important things. And so I think it's really fitting to see that the previous time David had brought together all the people with all the types of instruments that they had made, and their attempt failed. Here they go back to what God had intended. They carry the ark on the shoulders, and they only use one instrument, and that is a biblically based, God directed or directed commanded instrument, and that is the shofar. So I hope you enjoyed that little study. Leave that with you. Look forward to seeing you next week. God bless. Bye bye.